Welcome to the MVP podcast, where we talk about anything NBA. I am Sam Holcraft alongside Gage Zollicoffer and Peyton Thompson. Before we begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. So what we're going to do today is we're going to re-rank and revisit our tier list that Gage and I did at the beginning of the season, where it was the team expectations. This is where we expected some of these teams to be. Peyton, you weren't on for this one, so you can kind of give us some feedback on how silly we were. And some of these we were far off, some of these we hit on the head, and some we might have a little debate on where they go. But if you want to rewatch that first tier list, that video will be in the top of the description that Gage and I did about like middle of October. So recapping where we put the teams, the top tier was top teams. We had the Celtics, Nuggets, Bucks, and Suns. And then the next tier, on top of playoff contenders, we had the Lakers, because Gage made me put the Lakers in their own category, above playoff contenders, with the playoff contenders being the Cavaliers, Warriors, Clippers, Grizzlies, Heat, Knicks, Pelicans, 76ers, Kings. The next tier was play-in fighters, which was the Hawks, Bulls, Pacers, Timberwolves, and Thunder. Some identity finders was the Nets, Mavericks, Pistons, Rockets, Spurs, Raptors, Jazz. And with the last tier being the tankers, being the Hornets, Magic, Blazers, and Wizards. So, I think we hit this on the head, right, guys? We don't have to talk about anything. Gage and I were 100% correct.
Back it up.
All right.
Back it up.
Okay. So I think the easiest way to do this is we'll start at the bottom tier, make sure we got all the teams correct there, and then we'll move on to the next one, and then we'll talk about teams that maybe we need to debate or find the right spot. So the first team we got on there is the Hornets. We still think that we can put them in the tankers?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
For sure.
All right, so we'll put them there. We'll skip over the Magic because I think we can all agree they do not deserve to be in tankers.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Portland Trailblazers.
Yep. Keep them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Washington Wizards.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay. So identity finders, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Now, if we wanted to talk about this team, we'll choose to wait. We're just going to make sure we get all of the correct ones out of the way first. So we still want to keep them in identity finders?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Dallas Mavericks, probably wait.
Yeah, we can wait on that one.
All right. Pistons, do we wait, or is identity finder still a good spot?
No, we can wait on it.
Wait on it. Okay. The Rockets. Wait on the Rockets. Yep. Spurs.
Wait on the Spurs.
Wait on the Spurs. Raptors.
I would say the Raptors are probably still there.
Yeah, I think
Although
that
you could make a debate to move them down if you wanted.
Yeah.
But I think they're a little bit better than a tanking team. But at the same time, I don't know because they have been, it seems like, kind of tanking at this point. You know what? I think we should probably put them in tankers, honestly.
Okay.
So if you want to just move them back down, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll talk about them here in a bit. And then the last team that we had in the identity finders is the Jazz.
I think actually Identity Finders is probably a good spot for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
keep them.
So, yeah.
All right. For play-in fighters, we had the Hawks.
Yeah.
I think that's it's a good spot for them. The Bulls.
Yeah.
I think that was a good spot. We got the 9-10 out of the way right there. Let's see.
Do you think the Bulls? I guess they're playing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see. The next team, Pacers, probably wait. Wouldn't you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Timberwolves.
Nah. Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Irrespective, I'm not like I'm not very high on there. Like I know their standing is good, but
I mean,
do we really think?
we could talk about it and still put them in playing fighters.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then Timberwolves and Thunder we'll wait to talk about. Playoff contenders. So teams that, we would maybe be a little bit surprised that they made it to the conference finals, but we expect them to make the playoffs. Cavaliers probably can go
Yeah.
there. Warriors.
Can wait.
Yeah, we can wait to talk. Clippers.
Yeah.
Can go there. Grizzlies. We can wait.
Yep.
Miami Heat.
We can wait.
Okay. New York Knicks.
Yes.
New Orleans Pelicans.
Yes.
76ers.
Wait.
Okay. And Sacramento Kings.
Yes.
Okay. And then top teams, Boston Celtics.
Yes.
I don't know. I think we need to talk about them. Best record in the NBA. Yeah. Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
And we put the Phoenix Suns there.
Wait.
Yep.
Okay. So then that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. 50%. That's 50%. Not bad. That's not bad.
That's solid. I think,
yeah.
I think it's about a C grade on that, average.
Yeah, I mean, predicting what some of these teams are going to be doing, and we'll dive deep into some of these teams, but some of these might be a tier off. Some of these could be an entire half of the tier. So, is there a particular team that we want to talk about here first?
So you're talking about the teams that we still need to rank, right?
Correct.
All right. Let's do the Magic first. So I think that with the Magic, obviously, they've had a really good season. Mosley probably has my vote for Coach of the Year. Every one of their guys has taken a step up. I didn't think we saw Jalen Suggs being as good as he has been this year. Obviously, I think you could project Paulo to be good, but I don't know if we saw him as an all-star. Same with Franz Wagner. Obviously, he's played very well, having a great year 3. Obviously, Jonathan Isaac's back. He's been playing really well on the defensive side. And I think their guard rotation is pretty solid, especially Cole Anthony. He's giving some good minutes. So really, they've had a good coaching staff that's put them in position to be a nice little playoff team in the East.
Gage, anything to add to the Magic?
Yeah, they're just unexpected. But I mean, we could have probably predicted it, but I think we were just shrugging off how quick they could. They've been building for a while now, right?
Yeah.
So if we really thought harder about it, we probably could have actually put them a little higher. But I guess we just missed that. In comparison to all these 3 teams. The other teams near the tankers in the old list, I mean, although the Orlando Magic have been building the longest, so it's kind of surprising we didn't catch that.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that you guys didn't at least have them in identity finders, let alone playing. I don't remember if I was on the last podcast or not, but I would say if I was, or if I was originally, or if I was going to be, I would have had them in the play-in fighters. I think they're already kind of close to that last year. I don't think they were super close, but you could see the trend up. But they're a playoff contender team. Now, does that necessarily mean that they're going to be an actual team that's going to be able to win in the playoffs? Probably not, but they've made it this far, so they deserve their flowers.
Yeah.
I think the East is just pretty weak though. I think, in
weak.
comparison to the West. That's why, like, you have play-in fighters, but, like, here's the thing. Some of these teams in the East are going to get some easy walk-ins in comparison to, like, the teams in the West. So, like, it's very hard to rank them like this because, like, yes, the Orlando Magic aren't a play-in fighter, but I would say that, like in comparison to some of the Western Conference teams that you're getting ready to put in a play-in fighter, definitely would probably be a better team than the Magic. It's just like, are we gonna rank this like logic, like by the book, or are we gonna actually say, if you were to dump all the teams into one conference, what are the teams that actually make the play-in and so on?
Well, I think we we owe it to the teams that are in their respective conference to give them their props of where they're at because one, we're comparing our predictions versus what's really happening, and then two, they don't get to choose who they play. They're in the conference they're in, so ultimately they're just going to have to play who they got to play. And so we can't knock them for necessarily being in a worse conference. That's just kind of is what it is. Unfortunately, like, because I feel that as a Rockets fan, we're a positive record and we're the 11th seed. If I just looked it up, if the Magic were in the West, they'd be tied for the 8th seed with the Kings right now. So
here's what would make me happy, I guess, Sam, is if, I don't know if you want to, but I think like left or right ordering, just because it's just not fair to put some teams in the play-in next to some of these Eastern Conference teams, like the Hawks, who are in 10th seed right now as of this recording, and you compare them against the 38 and 34 Warriors and the 41 and 32 Lakers. You see what's wrong there? Like, that is how many? That's like a 5-game swing basically. Not
yeah,
even.
I
That's
agree.
an insane swing. Yeah.
I agree. And that's another reason why I think we should do the tier rankings. I don't think we have to rank the teams that are there right now, but if we're the teams we add, we can obviously rank. But I will say, being that I just looked at the standings, I do think that we probably have to move the Kings off the board. I think. Because they're the 8th seed. So by the book, they should be in the same position as the Suns and the Lakers, Warriors.
Cool.
All right.
That's what I think. So I would just take them off and take them off the board completely because we can talk about them.
Okay. So then we're
now we move down to 14. We move down to 14. So slightly under 50.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then we're cool with moving the Magic to playoff contenders then?
Yeah, I would say, and I would say right there as well as being the last playoff team contender right now, is about right. That's right.
All right. What's the next team that we want to talk about then?
You guys shoot for one. I picked the last one.
Yep. Gage, pick a team that you want to bring up. That's not the Lakers.
76ers.
76ers? So I feel like with the 76ers, we just have to put them in play-in finders. If Joel never got hurt, maybe they're in top teams. Maybe they're in playoff contenders. But with Joel going down, I think we just have to put them in play-in fighters.
I agree. I think it's mainly based on that injury.
Yeah. And I feel like this isn't the only
and put
team
them ahead, though, of the other two.
Yeah.
Because they're definitely better basketball teams. Then you might just have to move you go. They're definitely a better basketball team than the other two teams. Even without Joel Embiid, I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then if we're done with the 76ers, I'm going to bring up a team, and I will say I want to bring up the Memphis Grizzlies. Mm-hmm. I think this is a team that, they should realistically be in like play-in fighters, but of course Ja had that 25 game suspension, and he had that injury after playing like 8 to 11 games. But I think this is a team that we need to put in identity finders, because they were a 2 seed 2 years ago, or last year, and they were, I think, the 2 seed or 3 seed 2 years ago. And yet you take away Ja, and you even added Marcus Smart. You didn't have Steven Adams for most of the year, and this team couldn't sniff the play-in. So they need to figure out, is their core still good enough? Now, Desmond Bane did miss like 30-plus games. I think JJJ had a few games that he missed, but still, I think that like their core needs to be better, and they even added Marcus Smart. So I feel like Identity Finders is a good spot to put him in.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, if you really want to put this in literal terms, they just needed to find throughout the year, they needed to find their identity without Ja Morant and Dylan Brooks. Obviously adding Marcus Smart, that's a good piece for them, but it's going to change kind of the team dynamics a little bit. I don't think he's a one-to-one comparison to Dylan Brooks. They just have a little bit different playing styles, different, body types as well. And not having your best player, you're really going to have to find different ways to win. So they just weren't really able to do that well enough this year, and I don't think anyone faults them for that. Obviously, having their other two guys out with injuries and Marcus Smart being out with injuries as well is going to hurt your team a lot. But I feel like they're definitely better than any team we're going to put in tankers, but they're not good enough to be a play-in team because they just didn't win enough games.
Exactly. So are we thinking ahead of the Jazz and the Nets?
I would probably put them slightly behind the Nets. Yeah, I think. Now, I think you can make the debate, but I just think that the Nets are a little bit more true to what an identity finder is, whereas I think the Grizzlies are more so just like a team that had an identity finder year. So that's why I'd put the Nets above. They just fit the criteria a little bit more.
Okay. All right, Pete. Next team.
Let's go San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
And, to me, they're a tanking team. And, I was looking at a lot of old Twitter posts the other day, and everyone was saying how good the Spurs were going to be and how they were going to be better than the Rockets this year. And that gave me a good little laugh, and it hasn't been true. And I think we kind of saw them being on the same tier as a lot of other good teams, but I feel like, and I can't speak for you guys, but I don't want to say I knew because it's just a prediction. You don't know for sure. But I had a good feeling that they were not going to be very good, even though they had Victor. I mean, I'm just not a big fan of the team construction right now, especially not having a solid point guard. So I feel like I kind of knew they were going to struggle. So I think that's kind of where they deserve to be, is that tanker spot. But I think that they're a solid tanker team because they can beat you if you're not on your game. But at the end of the day, they're still a tanking team. So I'd probably put them at the top of the tankers list.
Yeah, I think the same way. I was going to argue like bottom of the identity finder still, but top of the tankers is probably fine.
Yeah. I mean, if we have the Blazers and tankers and we had the Spurs and identity finders, we would have to be really high on Victor Wembanyama, that he is like the generational player that he's supposed to be. And, for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, he was just a rookie. It wasn't until like the last 2 months that he's really kind of kicked it into gear and been playing kind of like expectations for his rookie year. So, yeah, I don't mind moving them there. Gage, your team or next team?
Let me turn on my light.
It's getting pretty dark.
There we go.
He's getting serious now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do the Miami Heat.
Okay. Where do you want them and why?
I think I want them Gosh, I want them in close to the bottom of play-in fighters. I guess behind the 76ers.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because this division was Miami Heat's to lose, and they did lose. I think this is one of the easier divisions in the Eastern Conference with just the Orlando Magic. You had to really beat up, but they showed that they're borderline, I mean, the Miami Heat always surprise us, but just that last stretch, they just don't seem to take these last few games seriously, easily losing winnable games. Because they lost to the Wizards and all that. I think you know that. They just threw games away. So I'm thinking that I don't think I expect a lot from the Heat this year. So I put them actually behind the 76ers, which is pretty crazy because the 76ers don't even have Joel Embiid, but I think the Miami Heat are just prone to make those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, this is kind of the Heat's MO, sneak in as a play-in team and then as a lower seed and make it to the finals. This isn't the first time they've done this, so it's kind of just their MO to kind of be a sleeper team until the end.
But how many times can you do that? You
No,
don't
I'm not.
win that every year.
I'm not saying they will have playoff success. I'm just saying this is kind of where they've been at as a team the last few regular seasons. So it kind of makes sense to be where they're at in the play-in. Just very inconsistent. Injuries hurt. Jimmy Butler's getting older. I don't think they have a ton of shot creators besides Butler and Hero. And Jaime Jaquez is a good player, but I don't think you can give him your offense and just tell him to score. They just don't have a whole ton of utility when it comes to creating offense. So yeah, I would agree with you behind the 76ers.
So if we were to put them in play-in fighters, I'd put them ahead of the 76ers, in my opinion. But I would also want you guys to entertain the fact that maybe they deserve to be in playoff contenders. So if we're putting the Magic in playoff contenders and they're only ahead of the Heat by 3 games, where Jimmy Butler is going to miss at least 25 games this year. Tyler Herro's not playing half the season. And the guy that's played the most amount of games is going to be Bam Adebayo, and he's going to play about 68, maybe 69 games. That's like 2/3 of the season. Or not 2/3, like 3/4, a little over. Jaime Jaquez, a rookie, has started 20 games. Duncan Robinson, who hasn't been, the Duncan Robinson of 2020 when he got that huge contract, has started 31 games. So, yes, to an extent, injuries have derailed kind of their season. And yes, Jimmy is getting older, but he still leads the team in points. And he's almost leads the team in assists.
That's not a good thing, I don't think. When you look at his stats, it's not a good thing.
I mean, 21, 5.5, and 5. Was still getting 1.4 steals.
You said how many points was it?
21 and a half.
Yeah, 21 and a half as the number one option is fine. I feel like 20 points is probably the standard for being a leading scorer on a team.
What about the number 3 scorer on the team? What would you think that
you're
average is?
saying on most teams?
Yeah.
14, 15.
Okay, what about 20? What if your top guy scores 21 and a half, second guy scores 21, and then third guy scores 20?
I think you're making an argument that you want to pull. You're making me feel like we should pull Orlando Magic to play in fighter.
No, I think that if anything, you can move that Miami Heat up because
they get a freebie because they're 39 and 33, but they'd be out of the playoffs if they are in the Western Conference.
Yeah, but like we said earlier, we're not taking that into effect.
I just feel
like I said, I'm totally cool putting them in play-in fighters, but I just feel like 3 games behind with roughly 2.5 weeks left,
they're gonna stay there. They're not going to bring anything up.
I mean, if they just won 2 games last week where they lost, they could be half a game behind the Magic.
Yeah,
and then our views would have been just a little bit different.
I definitely hear what you're saying, but we have to grade them on where they're at right now and not where they could be, because I think we could easily say, the 8 seed Kings could be the 4 seed Clippers right now because they're only 3 games behind. It's hard to kind of move the goalposts like that on what they could do when I think we should probably be grading them on what they have done, and ultimately they've made their own bed and they have to kind of play out of it now. I'm cool with putting them above the 76ers, but I don't think I can quite put them in playoff contenders.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Let's see. Okay, Gage, you picked them. The next team that I want to bring up, this one's kind of a tough one. We had them at top teams. Phoenix Suns. So
playoff contenders.
That just goes against everything we just talked about with the Miami Heat. How? Because they are the 8th seed in the West.
But they're 43 and 30. They're 13 games above 500. That's insane.
Okay, sorry, they're the 7th seed. But they are it's a lot closer in the West, yes. But when has this team all season showed that we can bet on them? They just played the 1 seed Nuggets last night and beat them. But 3 days ago they lost to the Spurs, who's the 15 seed. So between the Kings, the Suns, and the Mavericks, we could put one of them in playoff contenders. I mean, we could put a few because we could basically say that they're going in there. But if we're just talking about what we did with the Heat, they're the 7 right now. But they are the best team between the Kings and the Mavericks and them.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you kind of do have to take into account the overall record and how close the West is. I would say that I agree with you that they haven't really looked like a playoff team for most of the season, but they've still put themselves in position to be a playoff team if they can turn it on. I don't know. It's kind of tough. I would probably put them in the back end of playoff contenders, because I do feel like they have the talent, but
I'd put them ahead of the Knicks. That's why I put them.
You put them ahead of the Knicks?
I put them ahead of the Knicks.
I wouldn't do that. They have.
If anything, I'd probably put them ahead of the Magic.
The Knicks are a team that doesn't beat 500 teams. I think they're out of the top seeds in the East. I think, if I recall, they're one of the worst against teams that are 500 and above. I don't think the Knicks are that impressive.
But that's just weird to me because they're 30 and 15 in the conference. They're 25 and 13 at home, 20 and 15 away. They're 8 and 2 in their last 10. They've done it without Randall and Brunson in stretches and OG, and I don't know. It feels like the Knicks are always a really good regular season team, but when it comes to playoffs, I'm not going to count on them to make it to the ECF or anything. But I feel like they've shown enough where they're a lot more consistent than the Suns, for sure. Because you could say the same thing about the Suns. I mean, how many times have the Suns lost to bad teams too? That's why they're in the
Spurs
position
3 days ago.
at. Yeah, that's why they're in the same position.
Here's the thing that the reoccurring theme that you're gonna hear me talk about when we talk about these Pacific teams. That Pacific division is arguably one of the toughest divisions I've seen in a while. I think I guess maybe it was last year, was actually, so maybe not in a while, but I think each one of these the Pacific Division is literally 7th, 9th, 10th, and 4th, and the lowest team in the Pacific Division is 4 games above 500. That's a really tough division, and for the Suns to be able to still kind of like crack even on that division says something. I just I've just seen the Knicks play against good teams, and they haven't shown me anything, which is why they're normally a regular season team. And so that's why I would put, regardless of record, I think that the Suns are a better team than the Knicks. I think this, like, it says a lot when. I mean, Jalen Brunson. Who do you think is the best player in the Knicks? Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, Jalen Brunson, maybe.
Brunson, but I don't think that'd be a fair way to compare, to be honest. Because like Curry is the best team on the Warriors, it doesn't mean that the Kings are better than the Warriors, you know. Or that doesn't mean that well, I guess that would mean that they're better than the Kings. I don't know. I don't think it's a very good one-to-one comparison. I just feel like yes, the Suns have more talent, but all year, even in the stock market exchange game, we talk about the Suns don't look like they're supposed to, but we bet on them and then they let us down. They're a very talented team, but they got a lot to figure out, man, if they're going to be a real team. I feel like the Knicks are a lot closer to being a real team that knows what they're doing and has an identity versus the Suns who have more talent, sure, but talent's only going to get you so far, you know. So I mean, I would disagree. I would have them where Sam has them. So Sam would be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I would say probably just ahead of the Magic, just because of. I mean,
Maybe
and
ahead of the Pelicans. Maybe.
maybe, but in all reality, like ranking, I don't think really matters too much because they're all still grouped together.
They're all next to each other, anyways.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they're just the Knicks aren't the real deal. I'm telling you that.
I
In
mean, they might
comparison to
not
the
be.
Suns, they're not the real deal.
I just don't think the Suns have shown they're the real deal either. You know, I
I
don't.
think
They haven't
okay,
really showed me anything.
I'm trying to find the updated stat. Um, that the Knicks. I guess we'll see.
Well, that's fine if they. Okay, if that stat is correct, which I believe you it is, does it really matter? Because all
Okay,
the teams are gonna
okay,
play each other equally anyways, or not equally teams, but they're gonna have they have a good enough record where it's kind of an irrelevant stat anyways.
sure.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I found the stat, but I couldn't find it for recently. But in February, I found the stat. End of February, so beginning of March, they were 23-2 with against below 500 teams and 12-21 against any team above.
Okay.
The Suns are much better. The Suns. I mean, their whole division is teams better than 500.
So
So if
basically, this is what it comes down to. This is what you're saying. The Suns have a higher ceiling but a lower floor, and vice versa for the Knicks. So it cancels out.
Sure.
Right, essentially. The Knicks are really good at beating the bad teams. The Suns lose to the bad teams more often than the Knicks do, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
all right.
Fine. They're a playoff contender, sure.
I didn't know you were so
Alright.
willing to die on the hill for the Suns. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm up. We were kind of talking about the Suns, so let's just get into the other Western Conference team that's close. Let's talk about the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks have done enough to show me that they're going to be competitive every night. They're not in the play-in race right now. They're a playoff team. I feel like the team is pretty under-talented outside of the two main guys they have. But I feel like they could easily be a 4 seed if they could have had Kyrie be healthy for the whole season. I think he was out a few weeks for fantasy earlier in the season, or not fantasy. I had him in fantasy. He was out earlier in the season. But yeah, I feel like they're a solid team. You know, very offensively high-powered. Not a great defensive team, but they're a team that you don't really ever want to play because you're kind of scared of Luka dropping 70 points on you. But or Kyrie having a close triple double with 30 points. So I feel like they've worked well as a team. They're just kind of missing another piece if they want to be a real team that's going to actually be a contender. But right now they're a playoff team, so I'd probably put them third in that category right now. But there's going to be other teams ahead of them that we haven't talked about yet. As far as the next tier up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Mavericks are playing playoff contenders. Uh, I just think, like, I want to say that they're really they're on a hot streak right now, but their competition hasn't been anything important. But they did show me something against the Kings, because that game matters, and the game tonight also matters.
Mm-hmm.
So for seeding, like you say, they're in the playoffs, but if they lost to the Kings the other night, yeah, they're in the exact same position.
They're the 8th seed, and the Kings are the 6th.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, yeah, I'm gonna put it on playoff contenders, but I'm not gonna have high hopes for them because they have some obvious weaknesses outside of Kyrie and Luka Doncic. I mean, that if there was any team that really changed in the trade deadline, it was the Mavericks. Like the Mavericks really did make some good trades across this before during the earlier part of the season, and I think that really helped them out. They retooled, right? And if you would have asked me earlier in the season where the Mavericks are, I think I would have put them in play-in. But just because of that retooling, people getting healthy, yeah, I'll get them playoff.
Yeah.
So where are you guys putting them at, though?
I think
personally, I really, they're right there with Phoenix. I think I would put them right behind Phoenix.
I think they're better than the Pelicans, though. The standings might not say that. I mean, they're only a game behind, but I'm more scared of the Pelicans' health than the Mavericks' health.
Maybe we do that then.
The Pelicans also have a better roster overall.
Yeah. Which means that they should probably have a little bit more games. So what if we do that? Go Suns, Mavericks, Pelicans.
I'm all right with that. I mean, just me personally, I would put them above the Suns, but I'm okay with being right there. They're next to each other, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Who goes first, Gage? You can be the tiebreaker. You were high on the Suns. Okay.
Suns go first. Yeah.
All right. All right, Gage, you can bring up the next team. I think it's obvious on who you need to bring up now.
Thunder.
I thought we were going to.
I mean, the Thunder is pretty obvious, right? I guess I don't know how obvious.
We can take a break from the 6 through.
Okay. So all right, so let's talk about the Thunder. So we put the Denver Nuggets in top teams at the beginning of the season, and we still have them there. OKC is half a game behind. They're very young. We had them as a play-in fighter. Everyone taking a huge step up. Shy, maybe being up for MVP. We'll see. It's hard not to put them in top teams. But
well, I think what stops them from going top teams is
so young.
Well, here's the thing. I think OKC is easily a playoff contender.
Easily.
But they're young and they can be inconsistent. But if Giddey can shoot lights out,
not happening.
I think he did a few nights ago. If he can shoot lights out,
he has a couple games.
OKC is unstoppable. But I think that's really it. Player consistency around the core of Shy. Yeah, it's just top of playoff contenders. But I don't think they're gonna be able to go ahead and beat the Nuggets. Yeah, that's just my take. I just think that they just need their young players to come and do a job every night. But sometimes you can't count on Giddey or I think someone else is also streaky on that team. I don't remember.
So I personally would have them towards the bottom of top teams. I think they pretty much have everything that it takes to be a top team in the NBA right now. I don't think here's the thing. I don't think that we can, in good faith, take this from the perspective of, do we trust this team to be something? I think we're grading them on what they are right now. And what they are to me is they're a 50-win team. They'd be second in the East right now over the Bucks. They have an MVP contender who's probably second to Jokic, could be first. They got a nice young core with Jay Williams, Chet, Giddey's okay sometimes, Case and Wallace, Isaiah Joe being a great shooter. They added Gordon Hayward at the deadline, and Mark Dagnall, who's probably maybe going to win Coach of the Year, possibly second or third. They have everything it takes. I don't think I'm not taking them to have playoff success that they're going to go to the Western Conference Finals. But what I'm saying is there's not really much more they can do to prove that they're one of the better teams in the NBA this regular season.
Yeah, I completely agree. We could put them at top teams, but probably last in the top teams. You know, they've had a lot of success, and it's really hard to put the fourth highest scoring team in the league this year in just a playoff contender where they're playing like a top team. And they do have an MVP finalist, or who we expect to be an MVP finalist. So,
but like, if there's something we've always seen with younger teams, it's that struggle in the playoffs to get things done. You know,
we're not talking about the playoffs right now. We're just talking about the regular season, how they've.
But we're saying playoff contenders.
As of right now, they're a playoff contender. Yeah, they're not a contender to win it all, but they're going to be a team you don't want to play in the playoffs.
Yeah,
is that right? Is that true though?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, you might be able to find some weaknesses once you get into that 7-game series. But right now, you know, they could be a 1 or a 3 seed. Like if you're a 6 seed right now and you have to play OKC, that could be a little bit tough. Like, do the Kings really want to play OKC that first round? You know,
I don't. Think now, obviously, I don't think the Mavericks do. I don't really even think the Pelicans do. I think the only teams that would be okay playing them are like the Suns, the Lakers, maybe the Warriors, and then the other top teams. But if like a team that doesn't have size, they're gonna get cooked, dude. They're gonna get cooked. I feel like.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think
feel
that's
like
pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm a little shaky on this top teams. I really think they go top of playoff contenders. That like I don't expect them to win it all, just because like I like yes they're a great team, but
I don't think anyone's arguing that they're gonna win it all.
Yeah.
Then but top teams, you have it like top teams should be like people. If we saw these teams win the championship, yeah, fine. Like, I'd be cool with it. Like, the Nuggets, they've done it before. The Milwaukee Bucks, they've done it before. Celtics,
they haven't.
That's a different story.
They are a half game away from being the number 1 seed in the West, and you don't want to put them in top team.
No, I put them top playoff contenders.
Well, if me and Sam, I mean, we have the majority stake here.
Okay, all right, you'll see. You'll see.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, but they're a top team in the NBA right now.
The OKC's an upset waiting to happen. That's just all it is.
Well, we can bet on that series. Just let me know.
Yeah.
No,
they're not losing. Yeah. They're not losing in the first round. I don't know.
It depends who they play the first round.
I mean,
that's what it depends.
Yeah, very.
You
true.
put them against if you put them against like one of the vet teams like the Suns, Lakers.
If they play the Lakers, they might be cooked.
Yeah.
They might be cooked. Yeah.
Unless
Shai can have like a Dwayne Wade series where he averages like 37 and 8 and 6 on like 50, 40, 90 splits.
Yeah.
She can do.
Could do. We'll see.
So a team that's pretty similar to the Thunder, similar conversation. I'm going to bring up the Timberwolves. You know, if I were to put them anywhere, I'd put them at top teams if we're putting OKC and the Nuggets there. You know, they are obviously the Western Conference is a very difficult conference, and they have the best record in the Western Conference amongst Western Conference teams. They're 34-12. Next highest being, oh, what a shocker, OKC 32-16, and then followed by the Nuggets at 29-16. So
I don't know what you think regular season records say about the playoff and top teams and stuff like that.
well, I mean, how many times have we said that the Western Conference is harder than the Eastern Conference? I mean,
It's much harder.
It's much harder. And yet the Minnesota Timberwolves have the best record.
I mean, I'll put the Minnesota Timberwolves in top teams, sure.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I'm not arguing that. Well, here's the thing. If we're going to go ahead and dock, well, the crazy thing is we docked a lot of these teams, like the 76ers, for having a major injury. That's gone. Do we still think they're as good as their record? They're still like they're still good, yeah. But like a lot of the heavy lifting was done earlier in the season, and they've kept up the momentum. Do you think they're still a top team without that player?
Yes, because they've maintained that momentum. They were not the 1 seed when they lost Cat. They then became the 1 seed without Cat, and now they're still half a game behind. You know, it's not like where the 76ers are on a 35% win percentage since losing Joel. You know? The Wolves, yeah, their win percentage might have gone down slightly, but they're still winning 65% of their games without Cat. And they're still playing like a top team.
I see both your guys' perspectives. Yeah, I'm cool with either being at the top of PC or at the bottom of top teams.
I don't. When did Cat go down again? I just looking at their schedule. I don't see any actual impressive wins there. I think they just had they took care of the hard part first in their schedule, and you know when they do play better teams, I don't see any like actual good wins. It's just
It's like March 12th.
Okay.
Cat got hurt March 12th, or
that's what it's telling me.
Really?
March 12th?
Or maybe that's when he had surgery.
Probably.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so
maybe Feb 24th ish was his last game, maybe.
I'm saying the 6th, March 6th.
March 6th.
Yeah.
Was
his last injury update before the game. But either way, I think we're spending a little bit too much time with kind of the, either way, they're going to be at the bottom or the top of each. They're going to be right next to where they would be at anyways. So I say out of fairness, because they've maintained, I would probably lean more top teams if we're going to put the Thunder there. Because they're also doing, the thing we also had to factor in is that they're doing more with less than some of these other teams.
But they have less.
They do have less, but they're keeping up, they're picking up the slack.
Yeah,
still
best
limits
record
their
in the West.
ceiling ultimately. It limits their ceiling, but they're still showing that they're a top team in the West right now, whether they have Cat or not, because they haven't spiraled out of control downwards. Like, I would say if they were the 4 or 5 seed, that 5-game difference, that would be enough to put them down. But they haven't.
So are we putting them behind the Thunder then?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let's talk about my Rockets. Let's get them out of the way. I think it's a pretty easy one, and it really wasn't easy ago. About a month ago, I would have had them at Identity Finders still at probably the top, but they deserve to be in the play-in fighters based on this last month. Going on this crazy winning streak. I think we've been 11-1 in March, and we're gonna play the Jazz tomorrow. So we'll be hopefully 12-1. And some people will say, yeah, sure, we've played some weak teams, but we've also played some pretty good teams as well. Let me pull up their schedule and I'll kind of list them off. I feel like you guys probably know not know the
OKC.
schedule, but yeah, we beat OKC yesterday. And I know they didn't have Shai, but we also didn't have Şengün. We beat the Bulls, who are mostly healthy. Obviously, they missed Levine, but they still had DeRozan, Vooch, Kobe, and Ayo. Um, Beat the Cavaliers. They didn't have Mobley, but they still had Donovan. They still had Jared Allen. They still had uh, Okoro, Karis LeVert, and those guys. Beat the Kings. They had I think, a fully healthy roster. Um, and obviously we lost to the Clippers, but we only lost by 6. And then we beat the Suns. So some good wins there. And then the bad teams we pretty much have a clean sweep on. I don't think we've lost to a bottom 500 team in long time. It's been a pretty long time. I think that's my favorite thing about where we've gone as a team. Obviously we've progressed a lot as a team in general, just being a competitive, good team. But we're one of those teams that don't really let bad teams beat us, and I think that's really important for a young team that's trying to carve their way into a play-in spot. You got to take care of the games that you're supposed to win. Obviously, being a young team that doesn't have all the talent in the world yet, you're going to lose to teams that are more talented than you that maybe you shouldn't win. But as long as you beat the teams you're supposed to beat, then you give yourself a chance, and that's kind of what the Rockets have done lately. And now they're only a game behind the Warriors. I think game and a half or 2 games behind the Lakers. So I would probably put them. I think me personally, and I'm biased, but you guys can let me know. I would put them above the Bulls and the Hawks because we have a better record in a harder conference. If we were in the East, I think we would be. Let me see where we would be at here. So we are 37 and 35. We would
You'd be
be
the 9.
the 9 seed. So I would probably put us behind the Sixers still. I think that's fair. But I would put us ahead of the other 2 teams that we have a better record against, or better record than, I should say.
Here's something that, like, with the Rockets. I remember a long time ago we were saying how we felt about the Rockets, and we thought they would be a 500 team. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the rubber band effect, but this is a clear case of the rubber band effect. A team loses so bad, it's like Vegas odds too. Like, a team is just down so bad, but then there's just kind of an equal spike back up to the equilibrium, which is kind of crazy. Like, I think we expected the Rockets to be 500. That's what we said, when earlier in the season. We're like, yeah, I could see them be 500. I think they're going to finish 500. And they just tanked down, but this extreme bounce back, it's just kind of like, whoever thinks, you might think as analytics is just like number crunching or whatever you want to say. But if you wanted some proof about the NBA rubber band effect, about like teams being down by like 30 and then all of a sudden only losing by 2, this Rockets record is just clear cut like case of that. You can look at the nitty gritty and look at exactly why they've been winning these games. There's a sense of urgency. You have the talent. You have a new coach. Like, this is different than all the other years. So, however you want to say it, but it is.
So ultimately, Gage, are you giving us props, or are you?
I'm saying I didn't expect the Rockets to lose like this, be in the position where they found themselves in. Like, I didn't expect the Rockets to have such a poor record that they found themselves getting a 12-1 like win streak and go ahead and bounce back up to 500. I didn't expect that. I expected them just chill.
So you're telling me
us to lay down, basically.
Chill at 500. I expected them to chill at 500 the entire season.
Nah. He expected them to get to the destination, but he did not expect this route.
Yeah,
I get that, but as as it relates to the exercise, what does that mean for them? Is what I'm asking.
Yeah. So you said all your stuff. Well, now what do you think?
top play-in fighter.
The top.
I pick him over the Heat. Yes, over an injured Joel Embiid. I don't trust the Hawks to do much, and I put him barely over the Heat.
That's just a little bit too much of a recency bias right now for me.
There's not a recency bias. They've always been capable of being 500.
Dude,
in the beginning of the season.
Dude, if we did this 3 weeks ago, we'd still have them in identity finders.
No.
And I think PT would probably agree with that.
I was shook. I was shook when the Rockets were doing poorly. I was like, I expected them to be 500. Look at them. Why are they what's going on here? Like, coach, you have some veteran players.
I wasn't surprised because if you look at our schedule, one, for that stretch in January, I think it was late January, early February, it was a hard schedule. And two, we weren't losing games by 20, 30 points. It was barely losing by 4 to 8 points, One thing, too, as well, how about two things? One, we used to be, and, we still could be, it's kind of, the jury's still out, we'll see at the end of the season, we're a really bad away team. Now, lately, we haven't been. We beat the Thunder at Oklahoma City yesterday, so that's a good win. That's a good challenge for us, and we did that. But we still have kind of yet to see if this team is a real away team yet. And the second thing is obviously, I told Sam this as well, but let me just sum it up this way. Yes, Şengün losing him limits our ultimate ceiling, but I feel like also losing him is kind of a blessing in disguise in a way because we can test out different lineups, we can play a different way. Makes it a little bit harder for teams to game plan against us because they don't really know what we're going to do. And that's apparently unlocked Jalen Green. I don't think that's mainly the reason why. I think
Jalen Green almost got traded.
He did. Yeah, he did. And the Nets in hindsight should have taken that deal. But at the same time, he's turned it on. And I think one thing about, a playing team that gives the team motivation, but also the fans motivation, fans like me, is that, I think it gives us a lot of hope in the future. We have to see him do this for a full season, come out strong, but for him to be, Western Conference Player of the Week, probably going to be of the month soon here, that gives us a lot of hope. And ultimately, I will say I think he's probably played better in the last month and a half, month or so, than anybody on these other playing teams. But I will say that I do think that I just can't, in good faith, have my bias and say that we deserve to be over the Sixers and over the Heat because I think overall those teams are just a little bit more primed to win than we are. Maybe the Sixers, maybe, but that's basically accounting for Joel Embiid not being part of the team, and then that perspective, I would say yeah. But I think we still have to kind of gauge that he was a part of that team, and he is going to come back at some point. So I think there is fine. I do appreciate your confidence in us, though. I do want to see us do this against a little bit more challenging of a schedule, and we're going to get that soon. I mean, we got, just real quickly, before we move on, we're going to have Mavericks, Wolves, Warriors, big 3 games, Heat, Mavericks, Magic. That's a tough 5-game stretch. And if we can go 4-1 in that stretch, then I'll be like, okay, if this team makes the play-in, they maybe could make some noise and get out of the play-in.
Okay. So, yeah, I think that we could keep them right there behind the Sixers, but still in front of the Hawks and the Bulls.
Yeah.
All right, Gage, next team?
The Pistons.
The Pistons. Take him to Detroit.
Welcome to Detroit.
So,
have you seen that? And
no, what is that?
No, we have to show you. It's literally take him to Detroit.
And then he starts freaking out.
Detroit. No.
I don't know what that is.
They start dragging him.
Yeah, we'll send you the meme.
Okay.
So we had the Pistons at Identity Finders. Gage, where do you want to put them and why?
Tankers. All right, next question.
What? You're telling me the worst record in the NBA and we can't put them in Identity Finders?
No, actually, yeah.
Okay.
Just put them in a.
So So I guess the debate is, do we still put them ahead of the Wizards?
Yes, they're ahead of the Wizards, but I would probably have them firmly behind the Blazers.
Yeah.
But they're just more talented than the Wizards overall. Like, if we do a 1-to-1 comparison of these teams, I think both coaches suck, but Monty's more accomplished. All right, so we got that out of the way. And then both front offices, they're pretty bad. Both arenas, and I guess I don't want to come off and sound like a jerk, but both of the states that they play in are kind of bad environment. No one really wants to play there. I guess that's a better way to say it.
Yeah, people just don't want to go there.
People don't want to go there, yeah. But I would say the Pistons have done a better job at bottoming out and getting top talent, and I feel better at keeping games close at least. So yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think we have to spend too much time on them.
Can I play the clip?
No.
No, not yet. Just show me off air. Show me off air.
Yeah.
You need to add it as a sound effect, Sam. Permanently.
No.
You need to. I know you can add sound effects. Just like after this is just gonna be a permanent sound effect. Like when you want to, just take them to the.
All right.
Okay.
So then, yeah, right in front of the Wizards, but behind the Blazers. Okay.
Yep.
The next team that I'll bring up, the Toronto Raptors. We had them in identity finders. Do you guys think we should move them to tankers?
No.
Yeah, 100%. I think we should.
Identity finder.
What?
The last identity finder.
What makes you think that though? When they're 23-50, they're 0-10 in their last 10 games. I mean, they're kind of the definition of trying to tank right now. Their pick is top 8 protected, and they're at 6 right now. So they're trying to tank.
Tankers.
Yeah.
But probably top
right there.
Okay.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, no, you're right. Because they
actually let's reorganize. Let's put the.
I think that right there.
The Hornets need to go back.
Whoa,
Hornets need to go back.
The Pistons back there.
Yeah.
I
put
think
the
that
Hornets
is
behind us.
Behind
Put
what?
the
Hornets behind Portland.
Hornets behind Portland?
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I mean,
okay.
I mean, we're arguing about like
one spot.
All right.
That's good though. Let's get the Warriors out here. They're gonna be a play-in team. And I think we can all pretty much agree. All season they've been up and down. They've had rotation issues. You know, Curry is very frustrated. Clay has his nights, especially recently, where he's really good, but then he'll have other nights where he's just a non-factor. Andrew Wiggins, as a whole, has had a pretty bad season. Not great because he just got paid, so it's not a great look. And I feel like the biggest plus for this team ultimately is that their young guys are playing well. But ultimately, if you have young guys that are playing well, that pretty much means that you're a play-in team, I think, kind of like the Rockets. I would probably put them ahead of the Rockets because, one, they have the head-to-head right now, and then two, they have a better record overall. And I know it's only a game, but they also have Steph Curry. So it'd be pretty hard to not put them ahead of the Warriors. And even you could say ahead of the Sixers too, to be honest with you. The Heat is kind of up to your guys' discretion here, but I would say these top 3 teams are pretty close. But I might even say Warriors at the top because the thing about the Warriors, I feel like, is that they're capable of blowing a team out on any given night. Whereas the other teams, I just don't know if they have that firepower. But they're also capable of giving up a lead like they did to the Wolves the other night that they should have won. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of up to you guys, but. And don't tell me, don't flip a 180 on me and say they should be a playoff contender. Because they're not right now.
They're fine. I don't have any arguments.
Yeah.
Okay. So you like where they're at?
Yeah, I like where they're at. I think right behind the 76ers, but ahead of the Rockets. Only thing that does bother me, though, and this isn't putting them down in identity finders. This isn't obviously raising them up to playoff contenders. But out of all the teams, the top 11 teams in the West, they have the worst conference record. 19-24. All
Ouch.
other top 11 seeds have a positive record, have a 500 or more.
That's interesting.
So, yeah. So they're taking care of business when it comes down to facing the East. They're 19-10, which with that win percentage, you know where they would be if they had that win percentage in the East? The 2 seed. 19-10, which is almost 66%.
Yeah.
So they're taking care of the East as they should, realistically, but the West is just not. They're just not able to compete with the West. Yet they still have the head-to-head against the Rockets, which right now is probably the best team that they'd want the head-to-head against.
Yeah. And just real briefly for a quick second, it's really tough, like you were saying earlier, that the Rockets lost so many away games because they're 11-24 right now from away games. If they're just like 14-24, they get 3 of those back. We're right with the Lakers and above the Warriors, and that might be the swing factor between ultimately making the play-in or being ahead of them in this ranking board. So it's kind of tough, but
yeah,
growing pains.
Yep. Let's see, Gage. Next team.
The Kings.
All right. So we had them in playoff contender. We actually took them out. We kept them, and then we took them out. So
I keep them.
I
think we.
I think we
have a close
probably
to the
last
end, nearby.
Yeah.
You could make the debate, but at the end of the day, all these teams are pretty good. So yeah, I think at the end is probably good. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I put them ahead of the Magic though. That's just me.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that too.
Okay. All right. So we're back to 15. Okay. It took us a while just to muster up and talk about a few other teams, but we got there. We're back at 15. We're back at that C. So then we got 2 teams left, and we're gonna save the best one for last because it's gonna be so much fun.
Are we not gonna talk about Malik Monk or being weird? We're just cool, just like.
Now we were right.
Weird.
Like the Kings.
Nope.
I don't think there's much to talk about.
Nothing to say about the Kings.
I don't think
Sabonis?
I mean they're there. They're we're expecting them.
Team, but I don't see them making much playoff noise. It's a team that I think one of the top 3 seeds would like to play compared to the Suns, Mavericks, or Warriors or Lakers. I'd rather play the Kings. A lot of points though. Very fun to watch, but just don't see them as very dynamic. I'm not a big Sabonis guy, and I know he puts up crazy numbers, but I'm not really convinced that he's the type of guy that's going to win you like multiple playoff series, like possibly one a year, but I don't think he's going to take you to the WCF or anything. And Fox is really good too, but it's just when we talk about the West, there's so many good ball dominant guards like Luka and Shea, and Steph is still really good, and Anthony Edwards. It's tough. He's just kind of on the bottom echelon of the alpha guys. So Pacers.
Yeah, I'll bring up the Pacers. One of the last 2 teams. We had them in play-in fighters, but with the emergence of Tyrese Halliburton trading for Pascal Siakam, they're only 1 game ahead of the Heat, but they're 2 games behind the Magic. So we took them out of play-in fighters. Are we moving them to playoff contenders?
I would. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay putting them at like the top of play-in fighters, but I'm also okay putting them at the bottom of playoff contenders because, I mean, they had a really good first part of the season, but they're such a polarizing team where they're really good at offense, but they're also really bad at defense. And you can win games like that, but I don't think it necessarily says you're a very good team. So I'm okay putting them as a play-in fighter because they're also very close to being a play-in team, and they've had kind of a nasty third half of the season.
Yeah,
comparatively.
I'm just looking at something real fast.
They're positive in their last 10, but
yeah. So they're the highest scoring team in the NBA, but yet in terms of differential, they are 13th. And they give up the most points. Wait,
they
let me
remind me
double
of the
check.
Kings of
They're
the
the
East,
second.
but worse. Which is funny because they've made big trades with each other.
Right. So then
to get basically a similar result.
All right. So then with keeping the Pacers in play-in fighters, that means Gage and I got 16 out of 30, so that's over 50%. So that's
get a
that
C
now
plus.
that's like a B. Let's bump that up to a B. That's
and
it's so
even
tough
better,
to do.
Even better, there's 5 choices, right? There's 4 times we could have been wrong.
True.
Yeah.
But also you got to factor in that you could probably rule out 2 of the 5 for most teams.
Realistically, yeah.
Yeah.
So then 3.
Yeah. You got a 1 in 3 chance.
So, Gage, you made me when we were talking about the Lakers in this podcast. You made me add a brand new tier for the Lakers, where it was under top teams because you wanted to put them in top teams. I said I'll give you playoff contenders. Can I get the apology that I need?
No.
No?
Darvin Ham can give you that apology. Anthony Davis stuck to his word. Played many games. Iron Man. LeBron played many games. And they both played them LeBron is shooting 3-point percentage career highs. Anthony Davis, if he doesn't get any recognition for Defensive Player of the Year, I am going to be mad.
He could be DPOY.
Yeah. And so, the only thing that's holding this team back is really the management, the coaching. But people have been saying that all year. How far does that pull them back? We'll decide. But with a 41-33 record, which puts them actually ahead of that if they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be ahead of the Pacers. They would actually hold a tiebreaker over the Pacers. That's not too shabby when you have LeBron basically coaching your team. And I think they maybe squeeze out a couple more wins if they had Gabe Vincent or something at least for a game or 2. Possibly. But I think with the Lakers, they're on a 5-game win streak. I think 2 of them were really impressive against the Bucks. And I think the other one was OKC. So they've played OKC and Bucks in the same 5 and are still on a 5-game winning streak. I think 7-3 in their last 10 as we speak. Really, the Lakers. It's kind of funny though because the Lakers compiled a good chunk of their losses. I would say that half of those teams, out of half their losses, I would say half their losses maybe belong to 5 different teams, which is kind of funny. There are teams that the Lakers will not win and will not beat, and that is the Denver Nuggets. I think the Sacramento Kings. What is another team that the Lakers just simply can hardly beat? Maybe the Golden State Warriors. They just seem to just choke against the Golden State Warriors.
I think the Rockets own the tiebreaker,
and Rockets own the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So they're a weird team. So this is where I'm gonna fight. I'm going to say that they belong in playoff contenders. I'm going to say because I think they're a better team than the Orlando Magic. I am fighting for that spot there because I think it looks rough given their seeding because they're in the Western Conference and they are in the most difficult division. That's what it is. There are no freebies in this division.
You're
not getting a freebie against the Clippers. Huh? I am a big division guy. It says a lot of the story. It tells a lot. You play most of your games against these few teams. and then you combine that you're also in the Western Conference. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Celtics are a great team, but who exactly? You know, they've had a much easier Milwaukee. Yeah, it's just been Milwaukee
it's them in Milwaukee,
and that's it. They get freebies against Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
They get freebies. Well, not freebies, I guess.
So you have them ahead of the Magic, right?
I have them ahead of the Magic behind the Kings, just because the Kings have shown. I really don't like the placement of New Orleans. I just don't.
You think too low or too high?
I think way too high. I think the New Orleans is just. You have Zion, it's nice. But they really don't have any excuse to not like. I mean, is this their peak? I don't know.
So, for me personally, I think the Lakers have the talent to be with the playoff contenders, but it's just really hard to put them there when they're behind all the other playing teams in the West. Obviously, not the Warriors, but the Warriors are also fourth from first in the play-in fighters. I think what I would like is if we put them at the top of play-in fighters because they're more talented than any of those teams. But they also haven't earned the right, I feel like, to be up there with the playoff contenders yet.
But what about the Orlando Magic have deserved it just because they're in the East?
I mean, that's a good point. And if we have to move them down to scale, then I'd understand. I'm also okay putting them at the end of playoff contenders as well. But I mean, ultimately, like I said before, you don't get to choose who you play, you know. Because I mean, in the East, you still have those top teams that are going to be good every time you play them. So.
All right.
What are you thinking, Sam?
All right. So what I'm thinking is right now we have 8 teams that are in the 8 teams from the West that are compiled in top teams and playoff contenders. So with the law of numbers that only 8 teams can really make the playoffs, it's hard for me to envision the Lakers and putting them up there. With the maximum being allowed 8. But I do like Gage's point on that they probably deserve to be there. But if we're just looking at who we have ranked last, which is the Kings, Gage, how many times did the Kings beat the Lakers this year?
Every single time.
Every single time.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That is why.
That is why they're above the Orlando Magic. That's what I'm arguing. I said below the Kings. That's fair. You're above the Indiana Pacers. Now you're saying who do you think is going to win? If you were to put a 7-game series against Orlando Magic and the Los Angeles Lakers, who are you picking there? Don't do this.
This is what I think we do.
You better put Orlando Magic in that. No.
Hey, no. Listen to me right here, Mister.
Magic their own tier. It makes more sense.
You listen to me, Mister.
Don't put Orlando Magic.
Listen to me, Mister. You made me do this.
No.
It's only right that I make you do this.
Actually, I'm sorry to do this to you, Sam, but I think I agree with Gage.
There, how about this? How about that?
I think you should do what he originally had out and put the Lakers up there behind the Kings and put the Magic behind the Lakers.
So we are putting. You're telling me we're going to put 9 teams from the West in playoff contenders?
Yeah.
9 teams from the West.
Yeah. How many teams? How good is the East?
Wait, what do you mean 9? It's 6.
There's 9. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you're saying? I thought you just meant the playoff contenders.
9 with playoff contenders and up.
And that's probably. It's probably about right.
Whatever. I see. I understand.
The East is weaker. I agree with Gage. It's just weaker. It just is. Maybe if the Pacers didn't drop and the Magic had a little bit better of a record, maybe not. Same with the Heat. The Heat just like to mess around all regular season. They had a better record, And yeah, maybe it is injuries, but at the same time, it's up to management to avoid having to rely on those guys to make up wins in the regular season. Because now either way, they're going to have to play a super good team, and they're probably going to lose in the first round.
All right. So then that wraps up the revisit of the preseason expectations that Gage and I came up with. The revised tiers now are the top teams being the Celtics, Nuggets, Bucks, Thunder, and Timberwolves. Playoff contenders, the Cavaliers, Clippers, Knicks, Suns, Mavericks, Pelicans, Kings, Lakers, and Magic. Play-in fighters being Pacers, Heat, 76ers, Warriors, Rockets, Hawks, and Bulls. Some identity finders are the Nets, Grizzlies, Jazz, and some tankers are Raptors, Spurs, Blazers, Hornets, Pistons, and the Wizards.
Yeah. I like that. The one thing I will say is I don't think the Pelicans are as good as their ranking or their record says either. I agree, but I think where they're at is fine.
I was throwing shade at the last second. He's been holding that in all.
It's kind of just the way I felt about them
the same way
for a
about
while.
that. Every time I look over the list, I glance over to New Orleans and I go. A part of me just goes, oof.
But here's the thing is that I say that, right? And just like the last podcast, the last tier list, that guy's gonna say, you don't know nothing about Herb Jones. You don't know nothing about Trey Murphy.
You must know not. Yeah, you
don't know about Jose Alvarado. I'm like,
you don't,
hey, dude. Relax.
Yeah. You don't know about Herb. What do you know about him?
Yeah.
What do you know about Herb?
Low upside, high floor.
But all right.
No, we're not gonna get into this. We already got into this last podcast.
Yeah, we got into it, so we're fine,
bro. Okay.
All right. Is there any last things that we need to change? You sure we don't want to have the Lakers have their own spot?
Yeah, they don't get any special treatment.
It's crazy how we're just sort of cool with the ordering on top teams, right? It's kind of interesting, right?
I mean,
like,
we can move
the
Bucks down.
Did we get the ordering for top teams perfect? Did we? Are we cool with the ordering?
I don't know, because I feel like when you get to top teams, it's hard to win on the margins. Like, each team that's in that top team bracket has something that they're better at than the other teams, you can make a case for to be, besides the Celtics. I think we can all agree Celtics are the first team in that. They're the best team in the NBA right now. But I feel like every other team, you can make a case that maybe they deserve to be higher or lower. Like, I feel like you can make a case that the Bucks are higher than, or the Thunder are higher than the Bucks. But I think it's fine because they're only one spot away. If you want to say that one spot is, the be all end all, then, that's kind of a different mindset than what I'm taking,
All right. So I guess that wraps everything up. We've all talked about this now. No, Peyton wasn't able to be on the initial one, but yeah, we still got 16 out of 30. So how about that?
Yeah, not bad. Better than the NFL draft for sure.
Ooh, let's not bring that up. Or the NBA.
Better scoring. Here's a better scoring for the draft. You probably have to do like ratio.
Anyways.
Yeah.
I was cutting off like crazy. You got to do like ratio. If they're in the range, maybe do ranges.
Nope. Either you got it right or you got it wrong. Sorry, bud.
Maybe like three
picks. if you miss step one, bang, 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 the whole thing is done, right?
Yeah.
Your whole ordering's off.
Don't get pick number one wrong.
An Excel project. They got to make sure your first and second step are right, or else the whole thing's going to be off.
Exactly.
But that's part of the territory.
But once again, Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast. And check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft.
Gage Zolikoffer.
I've been Peyton Thompson.
Thanks for listening.